Hey Brian,
How are you doing this morning?
I'm great. I'm absolutely great, thank you. Looking forward to the weekend.
Yes.
Brian, I'm seeing from your page that you are generally working with corporates, trying to get people to be more inviting in their posture and and learning about faces completely. I'm very nervous actually. You're looking at my face and analysing it.
Yes.
Um, I'd like help, as I think many women would like help. In your mid years, as you're getting a little bit older, you're feeling a little bit more insecure, maybe, and wanting to look braver than you're feeling. Um, First of all, the first thing that comes into my head is your eyes are your window to your soul.
Agreed wholeheartedly.
So they are the most important thing.
Yes and no. Eyes are what connect us to each other. So, for example, if I did the entire interview like this, no one would pay any attention. And so, but the important thing is when I look at the camera, which is here, versus look to where I see you, that's where people feel, oh, now we're connected. So there's four basic human needs: physical safety, emotional safety, then people want to feel seen and heard, and people want to feel connected. And that's a way that we feel like someone's actually paying attention to us is when they make eye contact with us. Because if you've ever been on a Zoom call where everybody's looking down at like the Brady Bunch versus where the camera is, we don't feel like that person is really in the room with us. Or if
Or
somebody's in the
even they're not
room,
even there.
yeah,
They've got their cameras turned off.
yes, yes. As a matter of fact, there's just a recent study by intelligence.com. They interviewed 800 different companies who were interviewing people for jobs in 2023. 21% of the people left their camera off for a virtual interview.
Wow.
Yeah, it was very, very interesting because you're like, well, how do you get the job if
Yeah.
you can't do any of that? Yeah, so here I'm going to back up a little bit so people said they couldn't see me as well. So um, it's interesting because this is the original skill that kept us safe. So they're going back to when we lived in camps, tribes, whatever you want to call it. When a stranger entered the room, the first thing we looked at is their eyebrows to say, are they a friend or are they foe? So recognition is raised eyebrows. Hey, it's good to see you again. If I walked in like this, then I look like a foe. And so then we became protective. Then we looked after that is what's in their hands that could maybe kill us or not. But what's really amazing about the day and age we live in is yes, we are a what we genetically inherit from other people, but we have the ability to change and impact things. And so you can go as simple as makeup. Women wake up in the morning and spend 5 minutes to an hour determining what do I want to present to the world. And so you can highlight different features. Do you make your cheeks look wider? Do you highlight your eyebrows, your eyelids if you have them? Do you make your lip look fuller? And what's funny is we do a lot of these things instinctively. Like, for example, if you take a much, much older woman, let's say in her late 80s, early 90s, and she has a very flat upper lip, if you get up close, they were taught to draw more lips than they actually have. And that's because the larger the upper lip is, the more approachable you are as a person.
Oh,
And that's why lip enhancement's the number one plastic surgery right now. And I know people are going, well, wait a minute. I haven't necessarily heard about this. If you've ever said the phrase, hey, keep a stiff upper lip, it means be stoic. Don't share your emotions. So when we see people with flatter upper lips, we don't ask them a lot of personal questions until they get to know us. Then they start sharing personal information. Then it's game on. We can ask questions. But like I work with body language expert Janine Driver. She will get up on stage. By the way, since we're talking about faces and everything, if you don't have her book, it's a great book to get. It's called You Say More Than You Think. It's a
mm.
book about what does my body language say about me when I walk into a room. So if I walked in, show her something like, hey, I'm super excited to be here today, versus, hi, I'm excited to be here today. It's about how does our body language do it. So if you've ever seen the graph, it's like 38% is nonverbal, then whatever percentage is tonality, and only 7% is words we say. So our faces and our body tell a ton about us. And one of the questions you asked earlier is people are really worried about, well, now I've got wrinkles or lines. If people really understood the beauty of what that reveals, we would never get rid of them because it
But
tells
it
our
isn't,
story.
it does.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. You said that one of my favorite photos of all time is an Indian lady, a native
Mm-hmm.
American. Is that what they're called?
Yeah.
I don't want to get it wrong.
Yes.
With
Yes.
lines and lines and lines, and it's just the most stunning picture.
Yes.
Iconic. But I wasn't thinking about lines so much. I'm just thinking of everything going south, because
Right.
it is quite, if you're sitting in a coffee shop and you look around, the older generation tend to look quite glum, and their
Right.
mouths are downwards,
Yes.
and that happens naturally. So it isn't just wrinkles. It's
Yes and no. So it does happen that gravity takes effects of us all if we're not using the muscles in our face. So, for example, if you're older and you smile more, then you'll actually have an even or an upturned one. The downturned mouth is life gets to us all at a point where we've experienced things that have made us frown. And so we go, and if we do that too much, it becomes the downturned mouth. But our face is what it's based on is there's 43 muscles under our skin here. And the mind creates movement, and movement creates muscle. So no different than you can take someone who's later in life who doesn't go to the gym and put them next to somebody who goes to whatever gym makes them happy. I don't care if it's, yoga, CrossFit. I always forget the one with like the machine.
Pilates.
Pilates. You
Yeah.
can tell
Reformer.
they're the same age, but their body is different on the way that they move the muscles. And for faces, what we realized is a few years ago, there was something called the jawserciser, which was if you kept doing your jaw, it created the strong jaws there. Well, that's just a muscle. Now you have that genetically or because of what you do. So it may not be genetics. Strong muscles here are bait by holding your decision and latching into what you're doing. And kind of like gritting your teeth is what strengthens that over time. And that jawserciser was a perfect example because if you did that, it created a stronger jaw here. And what we know about somebody who has their jaw is they can latch in and hold their position. Versus if somebody doesn't have a strong jaw, they're a little more flexible and moving with things.
It's going to be so interesting to start looking around. I tell you why I am terrified of being a mouth breather.
Uh-huh.
That is why I've taught myself to clench on your. I sleep. I don't grind my teeth, but I sleep with my mouth tightly closed, so
yes.
I don't mouth.
Well, have you seen the hostage tape that they put on noses here? So people put everybody knows Alex Hormozy, he had the nose thing here, but now they have something called hostage tape that you put over your mouth. So it forces you to breathe through your nose at night. And they say, now I haven't read the studies, but the advertising for it is that it actually helps people breathe better at night. And that's why they do it. So I'm still playing with my iPad.
And it helps their partners better.
That's what they say. So there's a well-known speaker named Andy Elliott that him and his whole team use it and swear that it helps them breathe better at night. So I haven't personally tried it because I grew up with a deviated septum as a kid. And I thought I'd watch movies where the hostages would like put duct tape over somebody's mouth. And I would go, oh my gosh, I would die if that happened.
Yeah.
So I have learned after having nasal surgery and everything else to breathe through my nose. But I was a mouth breather for a very, very long time.
You don't want to go into a shop and ask for hostage tape, do you?
No, you order it online. Yeah. Well, I think most people just use duct tape. So I think if you ask for hostage tape, it's like the opposite where you're okay with it. But it is a horrible name for a product. You asked about other features. Yeah.
Yes.
What would you like to know about?
Confidence boosters. I'm going to a party.
Yes.
I'm going by myself. I've got to walk into this party. Everyone's going to be talking. What's the best approach?
Sure. So we're going to do a combination of faces and body language for this particular one. The first thing is you got to wear whatever makes you feel sexy. And I don't care if it's, let's say that you have to be so professional in the setting. You have to wear a suit, a formal gown. Wear something that makes you wear sexy. I don't care if it's underwear, if you have a lucky watch, if you have anything like that. There's people I know that wear something underneath that makes them feel that way so that they have that extra spry in their step where nobody else has to know it, but they know it. Now, for me personally, if you watch any of my videos on Instagram, TikTok, you name it, I wear a vest to presentation. So you'll either see me in a black V-neck shirt like this or a vest. That's because that's my bulletproof vest. And it started off because I used to have to go do presentations, and I'm an introvert by nature, but I was very nervous to go in and do these things, and I'd have to wear a three-piece suit. Well, I'm too hot. I would just drip and sweat. So I started taking off my jacket. But I got credit for still being dressed up and wearing a vest. Well, I started to learn to identify it. So when I put on that vest, I know it's go time. This is my outfit, and I have a variety of vests that I wear, but it's my confident, sexy, whatever it is. Now, I also wear something of Batman on me. It's either going to be Batman cufflinks. They make Batman socks. Under Armour even makes Batman underwear. I'm just saying, it's out there. But I have something Batman on me. Why? Because I'm a total Batman fan, even to the point I keep my little bobblehead here. Because he was quote unquote
I'm going
a
to
hero.
look at you a whole different way now. You know that. When I look at your videos, I'm going to think, what's he wearing?
Yeah, it's my bulletproof vest. So think like if you've seen any of the recent John Wick movies, what did he have? He had that special suit that bullets can't penetrate it.
Right.
Literally, I walk out there and that's my bulletproof vest.
Right.
And that's how I had to overcome my fear of public speaking when I first got started. So that's the first part. Second is posture. So I'm gonna have to kind of like angle my camera down a little bit, but there's what's known as the superhero pose. So doing this before you go into a room, if you do it for 2 minutes before you go out, it increases endorphins and chemicals in the body that help you feel more confident when you actually do that as well. So it's known as the superhero pose. Wonder Woman does it, Superman does it. And when you do it, you actually feel better before you go into it. Now, are you familiar with Mel Robbins at all?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
If you've read or listened to The High Five Habit, it's a fantastic book, which says the first thing you do in the morning when you get up is you give yourself a high five in the mirror before you ever start thinking negatively about yourself, your body, or anything else. So if you're going into an environment that you feel a little bit nervous, go find a bathroom as soon as you walk in, walk to a mirror, give yourself a high five, and it recreates those feelings of good going into it. Okay. That's the body language side. Now I'm going to teach you the face reading side of it all. So I was taught by attorneys how to understand other people based on their facial features. So if I'm going into a networking environment, the thing that I want to do before I start getting in my own head is I'm going to focus on you. And when I'm focused on you, I'm not thinking about me. So like, for example, you have straight eyebrows. So I know when I talk to you, I need to get straight to the point. Facts, figures, data. If I talk too much for too long, you mentally, you're like, okay, I've already left the building. So when I'm thinking about you, I'm not thinking about me. And what I teach in all of my stuff is I teach eyebrows first because eyebrows lead to eye contact, meaning that when I'm nervous, let's say I'm walking into an environment and I'm a little bit nervous and I'm like, okay, what should I talk about? I look at eyebrows because that's naturally going to lead to eye contact. And in a day and age where we are connected to the world but disconnected from each other, eye contact makes a world of difference with other people. So
and
that's
during
the first
COVID, that so many people lost just people don't look at you in the eye anymore.
They don't. Go to any coffee shop in the morning and people order their coffee and then they don't even talk to each other anymore. And there was a recent study, and I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I'm putting do not disturb on here for a minute. Is that they interviewed 800 employers in 2023. It's intelligent.com did a study. 21% of the people that came in for interviews couldn't make eye contact with other people. Yeah, because it's younger people graduating college. Well, if you look at the last few years, they've gone to online courses. And just like you and I are talking now, people get so used to looking down at the people to look at their reactions. They're not looking at the camera. So they're on these interviews and they're so busy looking down at the person that they're interviewing with that they're not making eye contact with the camera. So a very, very simple trick that your audience can use for any type of virtual meeting is get a Post-it note, draw an arrow on it, and stick it right here where the camera is, and think, I need to be talking to that arrow, not to the people in the room.
But if I look up there, then I'm not looking at you.
Right, but you're making eye contact with me from my perspective. Does that make sense?
Oh my gosh. I don't think I could have a conversation like that.
Yeah. Well, and so it's just, you have to remember every once in a while you want to look at it because that's what's making eye contact with the people that you're talking to. So if I gave a presentation like this the entire time, well, actually your picture for me is up here. So this is, Instagram's a little bit backwards. On your video, are you on top or am I on top?
I
And the one you're looking at. Okay.
Yes.
So in mine, I'm down below. So if I look at me, do you see the difference versus if I look at you? So if I'm looking down
Yes.
where I am, and this is what a lot of people do on Zoom meetings, and I wonder why their audience isn't paying attention. It's because they should be looking somewhere closer where the camera is, then it's like this.
Well, you taught me something new today.
And it's a simple trick, right? Just put the little arrow and just think, I need to talk to the camera and look at the people at the same time. Because human nature is we're worried and we're trying, because we're so used to body language and nonverbal communication was our original language, we want to look down to see, are people nodding? Are they falling asleep? Are they looking at their watch? But we have to remember that we're talking to them, which is where the camera's located.
Yes.
Okay?
Oh
Okay,
my gosh,
now,
you've really, all this time I've been doing it wrong.
well, and we all did, because we were forced into this virtual environment that nobody really gave us classes. They're just like, okay, you can't meet in person anymore. Now just go ahead and start meeting on these calls. And I'm really bad because I'm a little bit visual and ADD. And so if you ever watch my podcast and stuff, I have to shut like everything down, do not disturb, because if not, I'll be looking up and around and people realize I'm not paying attention to the podcast. So I have to control myself, and we all have to learn things over time. Now to go back to your second question, it's going to be a
Yes.
little more body language as well. So if you're walking into a room trying to decide if you want to talk to people, let me see. Give me 1 second. I'll make this more fun for a visual.
Oh yeah, because you have to look around and find somebody
Right.
that you think is going to be approachable.
Yes. So if I'm talking to someone and our feet are angled towards each other, then we want to be in a conversation with just each other. However, if they're talking in a group and they have a foot angled out, they're saying, hey, I'm open to having someone join our conversation. So that's a good tell sign, is if people have a foot anchored out one way or the other, they're actually saying, hey, our conversation is open to the group. But if you and I are talking and our feet are angled just at each other, it's kind of one of those of, hey, let us finish our conversation and wait for the gate to open. Now, if somebody is talking, let's say you and I are talking for a while, and all of a sudden I'm angled this way away from you, then look and see where their feet is going. That's where they want to go. Maybe they want to go to the bar. Maybe they want to go to the bathroom. Exactly. So we've been taught to control, don't cross your arms, don't stick your hands in your pockets, but we haven't been taught to control our feet. So it's very, very interesting what you can learn about people by paying attention to their body language. Now, back to facial features, which is what I'm also trained in, that makes me a little bit different from other people, is I look for eyebrow height first and eyebrow shape second. So if you think of eyebrows like speed bumps on your face, data has to race down your forehead to get into your eye. So the higher the eyebrow, I can only go so fast, then I have to go over the speed bump, then I try and speed up again. So those are people who need time to, when they're making a decision. If you've got a story, you'll tell a little bit of a longer story than a shorter one. They like information like that. Your eyebrows are very close to your eyes. So that's like having a speed bump by the stop sign at the end of the road. Data races down your forehead and you make decisions fast. So for you personally, I better get to the point quick, because the longer that I talk, you're like, yeah, okay. And mentally you've left the conversation. So it's by learning to look at you and adjust on the fly, I know how should I act also. Now, what's interesting for your audience is look at the camera straight on. So right now you have your head tilted a little bit. Okay, now what they'll see is both of your eyes angle up slightly. So what that tells people is, I want to hear about the upside of things when we're having a conversation. So if you see anyone whose eyes angle up and you come with a lot of negativity, like, oh, I had the worst day today, it's been a crap day, I got a flat tire. The more negativity I bring, mentally, you're also shutting down. You're thinking, I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. However, if their eyes angle down and you come talking about how you had the perfect day and everything's great and the sunshine's always shining, they're thinking, oh God, here comes somebody with rose-colored glasses. So I'll actually look at eye angle and decide, what am I going to talk to the person about? So if their eyes are angled up, I'll be like, hey, you're never going to believe this positive thing that happened to me today. If their eyes are angled down, you can just say like, I had a good day, but, and then mention something that was positive or not the best thing that happened in your day. So it's just learning to adapt and change for the person you're talking to instead of just showing up and throwing up, only talking about me in the way that I want to talk.
I love that. Showing up and throwing up. I love that. Um, yes. So I like to surround myself with positive people,
Yes.
as we all do. Um, so therefore, I need to look at their eyes to see which way, and they should all be upwards rather than downwards.
Well, it's fine if they have downward angled eyes. Just know that don't keep everything always on the positive. You can bring up challenges you've had. So I used to be part of, and I'll try and talk slower. I read in the comments, they said I talk too fast. I love this, and I do talk very, very fast, and I'm heavily caffeinated. But I used to be part of a presentation group that would go in and customers over $1 million, we had to go in and sell our product. And I would actually go in, and if their eyes angled up, those are the people I would make eye contact with when I was talking about the features and the benefits. If their eyes angled down, I would talk about what did we learn from mistakes that we previously had that made our product better. So it's just learning to look at the person and figure out how do I deliver the information. So for the person who just said, oh, this is dumb of a subject, guess what? This was part of the education system until Henry VIII had it removed out of the education system. So physiognomy, understanding people based on their resting facial features, has been around since the Greeks. The first known publishing on it was from Aristotle, and there's been books throughout time. So we all actually would have learned this in school had it not been removed by Henry VIII. Now,
Sorry about that.
yeah, but it's still taught to authors, artists, and attorneys. So why authors? Every book we ever read as a kid, the only way to do character expansion was through talking about and describing their facial features. Artists
Yes.
had to learn for cartoons and comic books, how do they draw the character or how do they paint the person? Also, I was just in Rome, Florence, and Italy, and in all the museums, there's thousands of busts of people's faces, and you get to see all their facial features and how they're the same and different while they're there. And then what is it taught to attorneys for is jury consulting. So imagine here you are as an attorney, you have to select jurors, and then there's the ultimate ones that are selected. But you have to think, these people may save my person's life.
Yes.
Or if I'm the prosecutor, you name it. So it's just another tool. It's not the only tool, but it's a fantastic tool to understand other people without having a chance to read their body language or to really have a conversation with them. So it was the first proactive skill.
How much of it is subconscious?
Oh, most of it is subconscious. With the so for example, take younger girls who don't feel in control of their life, and we've all seen this, will shave off their eyebrow and they'll draw in an angled eyebrow. Why? Because angled eyebrows are authoritarian type eyebrows. What's my angle? Help me understand what's in it for me, versus straight eyebrows. Like you're more of a straight eyebrow in the beginning, and that is get straight to the point. Facts, figures, data. And then rounded eyebrows, think about the people around them first and themselves second. So our faces are constantly telling people how to treat and interact with me. Then we do it subconsciously. Now, one of the readers asked about, what about beards? So beards are chin extenders. Now, the way you read it is anybody who has a beard of any type is creating a barrier in between you and them. So when anybody grows out a beard, it's like a level of protection. However, if they grow the beard out, it's more like a chin extender. So if you've ever seen the movie 300, they've had the main characters grow out big epic beards, because when we say take one on the chin, they're extending their chin out at the exact same time. So men don't necessarily have makeup to help us, so we have hairstyle, and beards are a big reflection of that. So if you look at television and movies, what do they show with all like the special forces guys that are no longer in the special forces in all the movies? They have these big badass beards that are there.
Yeah. Yes, but my husband was in the military, and they weren't allowed facial hair.
Right. So and that's why when they're out, then they tend to grow it out after the
Right.
fact. Yeah.
Right. So why do you have a beard?
Uh, so for me, it's one of those, I have a small chin and it was a chin extender. So if you look at me from a side profile, I have a small chin. Now, I used to have a goatee. To answer your question in the simplest of answers, I feel like I look like Uncle Fester without a beard. So I just feel better and sexier having a beard than I do not having a beard. And I didn't know this. So the way I got into it, this is not something I developed. This is something that's been around since the Greeks. I met an attorney in 2010 that changed my life. And that was a friend came into town. She invited me to dinner. She canceled on dinner and invited me to come meet this guy. And I went to go prove that he was a fraud because he ruined my dinner plans. And he won me over. And I still show people this book to this day. This is one of the books, because I had to buy so many, that is called Amazing Face Reading by Mac Fulford. And I'll show you the updated version that people can get on Amazon. But as I went, I studied with him, and every single feature on the face has a different meaning. And what I had was the ability to sit with him and learn, because the book itself is kind of hard to understand. But I sat and learned what every one of these features did and what it meant. And I'm still skeptical by nature. So as I was traveling around the US with my former job, I would leave the book out and I'd wait for somebody to ask me a question. I'm like, I'm so glad you asked. I kind of think this guy's full of crap, but can I show you what the book says? And I would show people in the book. And while it wasn't 100%, it was in the high 90s. And I used this to go from being an introvert on the help desk to a regional vice president of sales with a $40 million book of business. Because when I'm thinking about you, I'm not thinking about me. And the most important thing in the world is we, because everybody working together, we can accomplish amazing things in this world.
Very true. Very, very true. What your somebody's asking about eyebrow shape. Now,
Yes.
if I went and if I shaved my eyebrows off,
Mhm.
for example, or did something weird and made them pointy,
Yeah,
would then that be, would I
it would be,
change?
it would. So I'll show you, let me find a picture real fast of
But
me at
would I
18 versus,
change? I mean,
you
I'm
would
not
over
going to change just because,
time.
ah,
So what would happen is it's an affect affect thing. So, or I'm sorry, affect effect. So you would change an affect of your face that would change the way people interact with you, which then you would
ah,
change with over time. So let me show
interesting.
you a picture of me at 18, because I used to have straight eyebrows that then became angled over time. I don't know if you'll be able to see that, but this is me at 18. And
Oh,
see, I used to
yes.
have
Very,
downward angled eyes and straight eyebrows. Now look at
yes.
me currently, and I have angled eyebrows and my eyes evened up over time. Our
Wow.
faces are constantly changing. And so it's known as epigenetics, and that is what we inherit is genetics from our parents, our grandparents, you name it. But from the moment we're born is epigenetics, which is how the outside world influences us down to a DNA level. And when that happens, those changes are then incorporated into the next series of genetics. But you can take identical twins born in the same household with the same parents, but they had different life experiences, and you'll see subtle differences in their faces over time. And that's now I happen to know two sets of twins. Two twins were brothers that were so close that they're almost identical. They were in the military. They had to get special permission to be in the same unit because the whole Saving Private Ryan type thing, because they're like, this is my brother, he has my back. But then I know twins here in Dallas that the sisters grew up and their dad made them so competitive towards each other that one had plastic surgery not to look like her sister. And that's because she wanted a completely different experience. But over time, their faces would have subtle differences anyway, because one may have had academic success. One of them may have been great in relationships. The other one may have been horrible in relationships. And those things affect our face. Now, here's the crazy part. We're very familiar if we talk about right brain thinking versus left brain thinking, but we actually have two sides of our faces at the exact same time. So we have a personal side and we have a professional side of our face. Now, an easy way to remember which is the personal side is if I say, hey, are you married? It's a personal question. And in the US, we wear wedding rings on our left hand. This is the personal side of our face. If not, then there's the professional
Always.
side of our face. In the US, oh yes, or I'm sorry, around the world. It's always the left hand is the personal side. Now, that's because in the US, we wear wedding rings on the left. It doesn't matter where in the world you go, what gender, where they live, where they grow up in the world, you name it. This is always the personal side because it's controlled by the right brain. And then the logic is the left brain. So it's the cross brain is the way it works. So this is always someone's personal side. This is always someone's business side. Now,
Okay.
if you another way to remember it, if because I know in a lot of Europe, wedding rings go on the other hand, is if I
Mm.
say this is my personal side, this is my business side, you can make an L with personal versus business. So if that helps, that's another way to do it. Like when I talk overseas, I always have to remember that wedding rings aren't always on the left hand in a lot of Europe. So, but yes, it doesn't matter where you're born, male, female, right-handed, left-handed, you name it. This is always the personal side. This is always the professional side. And again, our faces are constantly changing over time. And on a morbid note, if you've ever been to an open casket funeral and we look and we're like, I don't recognize that person, it's because that muscle tension is gone that helped make who that person is. Or if you've ever seen someone with a stroke, what happens is something that happens in the brain that causes this side of the face to droop. But as they get that muscle tension back, we start to recognize them again. So you asked a question early on, and sorry, I get sidetracked a little bit. If I want to feel confident walking into a room, I would wear something I feel comfortable in. I would stop in the bathroom. I would do that high five habit that we talked about before. I would make sure when I walk in that my body's shoulders are representing me in the right way. And then I'm going to start to look as I'm approaching people. I want to remember to smile. And then I'm going to focus on them and think, how can I create the best connection with them? So by looking at you, I know straight eyebrows, get straight to the point. Hi, I'm Brian. What's your name? You know, if it's rounded eyebrows, then I know they think about the people around them first and other people second. So I'm going to walk in, I'll be like, hey, I'm kind of new here. I'm actually a little bit nervous. Is this your first time here? Because they like to help other people. If it's angled eyebrows, it's what's in it for them. Hey, I'm Brian. Nice to meet you. You know, this is one of my first times here, but here's what I'm hoping to bring to this. And then they can introduce me to other people. So that's why I love eyebrows, and eyebrows lead to eye contact, which is why if I only have 30 minutes at a keynote or a short period of time, I want everyone to walk out of the room, not motivated, but tactical. And so I teach the eyebrows, the high versus low in those three basic shapes. So when they walk out of the room, they're weaponized in a good way to create connections with other people.
Well, that is so helpful. And I know that from tomorrow, because I only have my husband here now,
Yeah.
although I will go and have a good look at his face. Tomorrow I'll be looking at everybody in a very different way. That's
Yes.
incredibly helpful. One
Yeah.
person did mention about noses and ears continuing to grow. I don't know if that's actually a fact. I
I've
can't
heard
remember.
that. Yeah, so I know it's interesting because I know those two are made of cartilage. And so they do say, I don't know that it's necessarily they grow or the rest of our features, as you mentioned before, gravity kicks in and they don't. But I can show you what's interesting about ears. Let me show you that picture of me again. So look at how much my ears used to stick out when I was a kid. See, like
That happens
away from,
so often.
right. But then as an adult, look how they're closer to my head. And this line right here that you can see, let me see this line right here in my
Yeah.
ear, that little
Yes.
angular. So that's called a heart line. So if you see that horizontal line on anyone, you have to tell them to keep an eye on their cardiovascular health. And if you ask any nurse or doctor, they'll go, oh yeah, that's a heart line. So what's
Ooh.
interesting is our faces, just like our bodies, are biofeedback machines. Meaning, like if you've ever seen someone and they're sick, but they don't want to tell you, they have sunken in cheeks, and you immediately go, what's going on with you? You know, are you okay? So if we work ourselves too hard, we have eye puffs right here. So this area of our eyes will puff up, and it's our body literally trying to block my view of the world to tell me I need to slow down. And it depends, is it on my personal side or is it on my professional side? Like, which area do I need to dial it back on?
Gosh.
I know. This is a rabbit hole. I literally give whole day classes on this. But what's interesting about it is it's not learning about you. So if you want to learn about yourself, I definitely recommend starting with that book of Janine's, You Say More Than You Think. This is taking a
Yes.
look at your own body language and saying, what do I want to change about the way I present myself? But if you want to learn about other people before they say a word, I said I'd show Mac's new book. I'm actually writing one right now, but I want to show the resources that taught me
I
this.
was
So
going to
this is the
say,
one.
have you written a book? Is it going to be easier
Yeah.
than that one?
Yes. So I'm going to take basically what I've learned over time and break it down into a beginner one, an intermediate, and then an advanced, because this is like an encyclopedia, which is too much too fast. What I actually
Right.
learned better with is the flashcards, because he had to make it very succinct. Okay, what do rounded eyebrows mean? You flip it over and it gives you a quick detail of what it means. I'm a bigger fan of the flashcards,
Yes.
but they can't be shipped overseas. The book can go anywhere. Flashcards, it's harder to do because you can't do it through the regular post office. And so it's a little bit of a challenge. But Instagram, I post videos all the time.
Yes.
And it was funny.
I watch
Yeah.
them regularly.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. What else can I tell you
Thank
about
you.
faces? What else would you like to learn?
Um, well, that was all really that I wanted to get across to people, that our faces are going south. We're aging.
Hmm.
Do we have to be the sad-looking older person?
Yeah.
And if you change your looks,
Hmm.
it sounds like you also change because other people treat you differently. Therefore, you
Yeah.
change.
Yes.
So that is mind-blowing.
It, it,
That's
it is
very
in that
clever.
we're not taught that for the face, but we are taught that for body language. So, for example, let me back up a little bit. If I stand like this all the time, then I don't look like I'm open. But there's a whole reason. Maybe I'm cold, maybe my back hurts. But we're
Mm.
taught, keep your body posture open, and then you're seen as more approachable by people. Smiling is the same. We have these amazing things in our body called mirror neurons. And that is, when you smile, I want to smile. And so
Right.
smiling at people is a win-win for two reasons. One, the muscles in your face that it takes to smile will change your face over time from a downturned mouth to an upturned mouth. But two, when you smile at other people, we naturally want to smile back because of mirror neurons.
Another thing that I do when I'm out and about in the supermarket or wherever, I try really hard to either even out my mouth
Mm-hmm.
or to do a slight smile, just
Yes.
constant, because
Yes.
I'm, again, paranoid about having this sad mouth.
It's a good thing to worry about. And I mean that in the best ways because, look, life is hard. We all wish it was perfect and beautiful. And the problem that we have this day and age is on social media, people only like to post the best stuff. And a lot of times it's manufactured. Look, life sucks. There's good days, there's bad days. You just want to focus on gratitude. It is a big one. What should you be thankful for every day? And comparison is the thief of joy. And I don't remember who originally said that. It's not my saying, but it's so true. We log in and we see, oh, well, like for example, you just did, we were supposed to have this live earlier and we had to move it because you had a modeling session, right?
Yes,
Um, you
yes,
know, in, there's people go, oh, I want to be a model. I'm sure you have bad days. There's people who see me up on stage and they think life is always going great. No, I have bad days.
everyone.
But what am I thankful for every day? Right. And that's the key is, um, I know we're way off the topic of face reading, but I have a picture by my bed that is what's called a second line out of New Orleans. So a second line is when you go to New Orleans, people celebrate with a mini parade that your friends go on for birthdays, weddings, divorces, funerals. And so I have that picture. So when I get up every day, I have to sit there and think, what am I grateful for today? And it could be that I just woke up today. If you want to start off with a good one, I got to wake up. You know,
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Brad Lee, if you know who he is or not, but he has something called the $1 Million Morning. And that is, if I offered you $1 million, would you take it? And everybody's like, oh, yes. Okay, what if you don't get to wake up tomorrow? Well, no. Then every morning that you get to wake up is worth $1 million.
Yeah, yeah,
You know?
yeah. That's very good.
Yeah.
That's very good. I think we should leave it on that note.
Sure.
Every morning is worth $1 million. I love that.
100%. Yes.
Thank you very, very much for imparting your knowledge, and let me know when the book comes out.
I will. Thank you for having me, Tim. I'm glad that we're able to make it happen, and hopefully we'll talk again.
Kind.
I'll talk a little slower.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us, and yeah, lots of food for thought. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks. Bye.